All right, folks, welcome back for another Halo review, episode 8, Allegiance. No more Quan Ha, so I know you guys are happy, but I think you are going to be pissed because I saw a few other folks a couple of weeks ago did not want the whole forced relationship between Makee and John, but we'll see how. We'll talk about it. We got a bunch of things to talk about tonight's episode. This episode was back on track, back on Halo, back where we needed it to be. Thus, we got things to cover for tonight's episode. So hopefully you all are back watching it again, because a lot of you all were saying you were done at the episode 7. But episode 8, I felt delivered on all accounts. Things are getting to should be a crazy finale, but before we get there, things are definitely leading to what should be a very fantastic conclusion of the season, Quan Ha included. But anyway, we see John and Makee. They talked about their vision, their fantasy together on the Halo and the implications of that. And there's tensions. They're trying to figure each other out. And I think that as much as they realize that they're one and the same and how they're not alone in the universe, I guess they found a piece of each other in one another in comfort to thus generate some feelings. I got a bunch of questions to kind of go about some of these things. Like, I'm going to talk about what happened, but I definitely got a bunch of questions with her. But the biggest thing right now is everybody trying to decipher is, does he trust her? Can they trust her? And what the hell is going on with John? Everybody has commentary from all different accounts, because they were even talking about, like, hey, John, the John we know, like, he would have been ripped her apart. This doesn't make any sense. And like, he's out here going on dates and just walking through the park. I mean, they got this whole listen, this was the futuristic version of Twilight that they were going on. These little moments laying on the tree, talking about the future together and whatnot. But like I said, Admiral Margaret was basically like, this ain't adding up. But she's still playing it from the Raptors. She's still, there's a plan in place. So she's not intervening. She's just trying to observe what's going on with that. But it seems like John trusts her, but everybody's like, nah, there's no way he trusts her. So I just want to throw it to you. What were you kind of like thinking in the early parts of this episode in terms of this, after everything that happened with their little fantasy together going into this one? How would you kind of feeling about them going into this early?
Honestly, I didn't know where they were going to pick this back up after the whole, we just had this Halo vision, last episode. And for a minute there, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, John is like the tactical guy, right? He's the Master Chief. He's probably trying to get her to let her guard down, probe her for information. But apparently that's not the case. He out here, whatever connecting on, to the ring or whatever the artifact did to them, put them in some type of sync. So I can't even think of the full word, sync. And they put them in sync with each other, like not just in their heads and they feel, but everything, like everything is
all the body chemistry is aligning now,
right?
Yeah.
But like I said, I just thought that Master Chief was playing her and she was playing him, and she was going, she's gonna unreveal her master plan at some point, because she's been a covenant slave, not slave, but she's been a covenant captive, or let's just say, welcome guest for the last God knows how many years. So it's just fun to see, like, throughout this episode, kind of like as the audience not knowing exactly whose plan is going to unravel first.
Yeah,
as far as what the deal is with everybody, because everybody's got a plot. Everybody's got a different plot, like, throughout the episode.
Yeah, definitely a battle tug of war
right.
For the viewers. We don't know, like, hey, I mean, all of us are obviously loyal to Chief because of just the fan base. That's just what it is. Yeah, the brand, and I think it's easy to say, oh, well, like even you said, like, Makee is definitely playing a role, but it starts to become convincing, and then she starts to take steps that then seems to more or less let her guard down. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but like, yeah, it's definitely a tug of war battle for the viewers in terms of what side you want to be on, in terms of believing her, not believing her. Is John believing her, or is John playing a role as well too? But she starts to talk about the Halo, then she starts to talk about the prophecy around it and whatnot. and the chosen ones, and then the ones deemed worthy will become gods, and the ones who are not, the humans and whatnot, which struck a nerve with him,
Right.
would then be what they say, reprogrammed, or I don't know, cleanse is the word to use. So there's that, and I think also too, like, she's still unsure if everybody's onto her. We've seen her on edge a little bit. The animals always know, folks. Like, listen, this
It's evil.
anytime they always know. Just always believe your
Die
best
first
friend.
in the house too.
And she was on edge. She pulled out the plasma finger sword, but it's still her kind of having her hesitations and reservations about everything around her. But then we started to learn more about the Covenant and what they've done to that planet. 11 million people killed. They're looking for the Covenant. They can't find them. Meanwhile, this is when Makee and John are strolling through the park. So, like, a lot of things are kind of converging all in one little small place at one time. They're learning more about what the Covenant has done, which then obviously would lead back to her, or if it did not lead back to her in such of a guilty standpoint, it still does come back into a point of interrogation as to, like, we need to know more, because, like, they're doing major things right now,
Right.
like, and this is a problem. And they even John, not John, Captain Keys, basically Jacob was basically like, listen, we need to try to figure something out, because they're doing things, and even they're stuck in between the rock and a hard place as to, like, we can't even help the other survivors out there because of the whole things that we got on our home base right now. So, a lot is kind of going on with that. Meanwhile,
I thought that was interesting too, just kind of the reaction of that scene where they get like the alert about what's going on other planets. I'm just like, okay, this is what the UNSC does. Why wouldn't they react? You know what I mean? And try to help them. And UNSC is not just this one spot. You know what I mean? For whatever reason, they make it seem like it's self-contained to this one base, but they're all around.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. How this show doesn't really go into detail as to how many active, ready Spartans there actually are, other than the 4 or 5 we see. So I wonder. What was the cause, like, why they didn't want to react. Obviously they didn't want to leave the weapon unattended. It was still, because there was too much going on, and the last thing they want to do is give the Covenant the other part of this weapon, because like I said, it's either going to save humanity or it's going to wipe out everything. So
yeah, and I think you gotta act with caution, because you don't know what you may be walking yourself into. They can't find them, so there's a problem. They could be walking into something that could ultimately lead into them surrendering it over. But also there still is a sense of, like, doubt in Master Chief, is if he can complete the mission. They feel like he's compromised, sick, all these other words that they're throwing around, but they don't feel like he could be the leader they need if that was to come. So right now they're kind of staying kind of stagnant in terms of, like, wanting to help but not really sure what they're capable of being able to do. Also still trying to understand the artifact and their connection to it. And Makee here, and is she a spy? Is she with us? Can she tell us more? So, like, it's a very pivotal part for everything right now. You know what I mean? And I do agree. I hope next season they expand bigger, because there's so much story to still tell right here. So much we still don't know. You know what I mean? So let's not expand, talk about different bases and whatnot when they still got so many different gaps right here. Now, Kai is getting back into action. She is cutting up. I love this new, very charismatic Kai without the chip. Yeah, she's living her best life out here, making bets of how much she can lift and whatnot. But
it's cool to see kind of like what a base Spartan strength is capable of without the armor. You know what I mean? Like, so you could pick up a whole warthog, like, basically no problem. Like, that's they freaking like superhumans. Because like for a while I thought, okay, maybe the suits were just augmenting their strength, but nah, they're just super freaking strong.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, because I mean, if you don't know the material, then I think that is a scene that you need to have, because I mean, a couple of scenes later, you start to think like, oh, this is about to be a wash. You know what I mean? But we'll talk about it. Miranda now has been working hard to decipher the Sankheli signals that they've been getting. She's trying to understand the language. everybody and their mother knew exactly what was going to happen later on in this episode at this point. The more and more that this transmission got clearer and clearer, we all knew what she was going to find out. The most important thing that I think to kind of, because we already knew she was going to find Makee's voice, because we know. And they talked about the range, the frequency, the pitches, and all that other stuff. And why it seems like, oh my God, I don't understand. Like they sound so different, but we all knew, the viewers. You had to been. There's no way nobody did not know at this point. But the question is, once they discovered, what are the implications? So let's talk about that real quick. Me personally, I think they found out that not only because she had helped in Decipher, she can actually speak it. So she legit can translate this here, which is a big thing, which makes her an asset. I don't think they look at her, and although we got some sort of resolution, I don't think Miranda would have been the one to say, well, she'll pay, like how like Margaret did. I think she says, like, this is the level of intelligence we need. We need her. We have to understand this more. We have to try to figure out whose side she's on for sure, but we need this intelligence. This is game changing for us. So I think this was a discovery of positivity for them, a positive for them, not such a negative, like, oh my gosh, she's been lying to us the whole time, kill her, which, that seems to be the other narrative. But yeah,
that's usually how military works. They don't necessarily just go ahead and just kill the, they're going to try to use it.
Except for Margaret.
Right. Yeah. She's almost coming out. She almost comes off kind of personal with it too. You know what I mean? Which gives me greater insight that she definitely is going to die, before the season is out or whatever, man. Because she first of all, it's like she's a big piece of the problem in Catherine's way. And like I said, it's definitely hints that maybe they don't kill her, but whatever. She's a big issue. But like I said, I mean, between her and Jacob, man, I don't know. Like you said, they got all these secrets. They feeling bad out here about what they did and being involved in Halsey's entire thing. But you feel bad, but you're winning because of her expertise, her science. Yeah. So I mean, you can't have the moral high ground about this if you want to win this war, like I said before. But like you said, the implications of them finding out now, like you said, it's military. They're not going to kill her. They're going to try to use her. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think she understands that it's just going to be I think now it becomes a conflict on who sees the value in this and who doesn't. And I think that's where we see Miranda being like this new generation of like leadership, where she sees the good in. Oh, she has a strategy very different from amongst the customary designs of ways and how they went about things, which I think also aligns with Master Chief, because him being unchipped and Kai and Cortana, all is this new styling of programming and strategy, which I think it will prove for success going forward. I think the other thing to kind of think about with this too is there is, as I always like to say, this Old Testament regime like with Margaret. But the black security guard has been itching to punish Makee the entire time, which it looks bad on him, but I also think it speaks to the people that he served as to like that's what they think first.
You heard him say squid head, you know what I mean? So that I think obviously Covenant's probably killed people's families and stuff like that, so it's probably personal. Yeah, which is like he wanted to come in there and knock her head off with the baton. So who we talked to, but
yeah.
My question is, she had to know that she was on a time limit, right? As soon as they got there, and she was having the whole conversation with Commander Key's daughter while they were planning the message. She was like, "Oh, we're gonna find out." You know what I mean? Like, and it was like, you on a time limit. What was the plan here? Like, you thought you were gonna get off planet? You gonna get rescued by the Covenant? They gonna come down, or you thought maybe she had like a tracker on her or something like that for them to find them? What like?
I think it's just because Miranda's philosophy is different. No one else would have spent that much time and dedication in trying to figure that out. That's why when her father came and checked her, he was like, well, if anybody can do it, you can do it. Because there was no allocated resources to that research. No one cared about it. Everything was all pro Halsey at first. Everything in terms of the future and this and that. And it does make sense when you think about it, because in the beginning of these episodes, I used to always say, how come it seems like everybody's discovering different intel at different times where everybody's all around each other. And I think that's just starting to show a little bit of the hierarchy where, you know, Halsey gets one thing, Margaret gets another thing, Jacob somewhere in the middle there, Chief gets something else, and then there's just Miranda who's just like, well, here's the scraps. You take care of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think it's also kind of telling. It's like, well, here's the office that she would have never would have got if you hadn't been, you know, removed. I think it's true because her mother's philosophy is completely different. I think that Miranda's humanity, and well, I don't even have to tell you what Halsey's is, but different, you know. And Jacob's just like, oh, I just don't want to get in trouble. I'm just here so I don't get fired, you know. And playing both lines on this, you know. So, and he did play both lines in this episode, but we'll talk about it. Get to the next thing too. Everybody, I know, y'all kept saying John and Makee, are they going to kiss? I don't want them to kiss. I want them to kiss. So many puns within that episode review in the comments. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I wish I could name some of them, but there were so many really good ones. I appreciate the last folks. But yeah, they kissed plus more. The most awkward sex scene ever. Now, here's what I got to say, because I know you got some comments about it. I don't even want to focus on the sex. I want to understand more about their connection because she legit hasn't been around humans in forever.
Right.
In that capacity. So to generate those type of, you know, hormones in order to get to that point. And John also generating hormones. I mean, he's been unchipped for just a little bit. And all of a sudden they're just like, they're in La La Land together, getting it on. And they're just regular old humans after that. I mean, he getting knocked out and he unconscious to a point that he can't even hear what she's doing in the bathroom, and she done caught feelings. I mean, she's at the sink, like, oh my god, I can't believe I spent the night. Like, things are crazy. Maybe it was the body scars. I don't know what it was, but listen, the other thing, because I gotta add this for you, because I know you probably gonna say it. Fucking Cortana was in her feelings. What is happening right now, folks? Yeah. She was sitting there like, oh man, that could have been me.
I'm feeling what he's feeling.
So what in the world is going on? And like Katana in her feelings, and she done removed her plasma sword. Makee done moved her plasma finger sword, and I don't know how in the world John did not hear her making all that noise and skirming around.
As trained as he was.
yeah, exactly. How you get caught as a soldier, basically. And then let's get it straight. Before she took that out, she was feeling around for that main vein. She was trying to figure out where it was. She's ready to off him. She said, listen, she said, if I find that main one, it's a wrap. And then she would, instead of her going for the kill, she went and took her weapon out. So then, what's your thoughts about everything? Because that was like a crazy little moment.
I like I said, when it first happened, I was like, okay, this is totally left field. I'm like, but then I had to think about like what I said earlier, the whole thing with the connection with the artifact. You know what I mean? Like we're looking at this from like, dang, you know, he just met this girl an episode ago, but you know, we don't know what the artifact did to their brain chemistry, and you know what it could have did to, like you said, just their attraction to each other. And you know, they're both essentially virgins because I'm pretty sure they have, you know, she's been on a Covenant ship, he been in the military his entire life, so you know, all this is hitting new. So you know, and he got super strength, so God knows what you can do with that. But anyway, like, but I just thought, like, you know, that connection really brought them to that level. It was beyond the physical. It's obviously it's beyond a you know, a mental, and it's taking them to another plane entirely. Because like you see, like their conscious plane, right? Their consciousness is literally on another plane of existence. Like, yeah. So we definitely see that. I thought it was pretty cool. But like I said, it's people gonna have comments about it, like, man, I can't. This is, you know, whatever. There's no chemistry here, you know. But hey, you gotta think about it. It's sci-fi, man. Don't think about it too hard.
Listen, there's been this term floating around. I don't know what other show I was covering. I heard this term get thrown around, but if I had to guess, I guess this is the definition of unicorn sex. But you know, you guys in the comments, let me know, because apparently I think this must be it. You got him out here on a whole nother plane, out here projecting about the future and being gods. I mean, man,
I don't need that in my life. I don't need that. I'm sleeping like that. No, I'm good.
Absolutely changing the subject now. Anyway, but Cortana comes out and gives the narrative to Halsey. And says, "Yeah, John has a girlfriend. She ain't saying this like it's drama. I think she's saying this in hurt, but I may be just digging a little hard there. But Halsey is sick. I see it in her face. She's like, he's not alone. He had me." She's like,
I'm weirded out about that because it's like on one hand, I'm like she has this motherly whatever about it, and then this kind of like I think it's just really from a mother perspective. I don't even want to go any deeper than like she wants any relationship with him.
She is like an evil mother,
right? Like I'm all he needs, basically. Like any feelings or whatever, it comes to him because for what somehow some way they're like the same age, like you seen this kid as a boy. I'm like, what? We like 15, but it's weird. The timeline's weird.
I ain't even worried about that. She's just she's like the possessed mother. Like she is obsessed with him and doesn't want anybody to have her. But it's
Master Chief's her greatest creation.
Basically. Yeah, she is killing this mad scientist role. Like everything she does, I'm just on the edge about. So I'm convinced, and I did completely overlook this age thing that you somehow bring up every other episode. And I just want to sort it out.
Had they casted anybody else in the role and was like, all right, okay, that was her then, but they literally showed her at the same age as she was when he was like 10 to where he is now. Like, you know what I mean? He's got to be like in his 30s.
Yeah, listen. I think first of all, Natasha is just again fantastic in her role and performance this season. I think that something that you said a long time ago, I think we have to start to we don't know much about her personally. We know what she's done, what she's been involved with, but we don't know much about her and what her developments, her studies, discoveries. What did that mean for her? We know she's thinking future, but what's the future if you're not there?
Right.
Think about that. And I will sacrifice it all in her Vince McMahon voice for the future. Humanity, hell with that, my daughter, John, you, Jacob, all of you all.
I think that's the first time they actually kind of confirmed that is her daughter, because they've kind of like played around.
No. We went through that again. No, what? No, we talked about that because you said that comment before. What I do think that this is the first time that they're acknowledging it in a sense of guilt. In a sense of like, that's your daughter. Like, get it together. Like, that ain't your buddy. That ain't, just one of those boys. Yeah, Jacob, and I think that, like, I forget the term that she used, but Jacob is kind of playing like the innocent victim of this, of saying like, I'm not part of anything that you done, which isn't true. But then he ultimately goes for the low blow and says like, that's your daughter. Like, if anything, but she's just like, listen, hell with all that noise.
Trying to do this work.
Yeah, I'm putting in this time, and I forget that. But what I just saw, I mean, she also said like, humans are the problem. She doesn't care about humanity. That's just the bottom line.
She's trying to evolve past that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
this woman has created cloning like perfectly. You know what I mean? Not I wouldn't say perfectly because they degrade and die, but like she's got it down pat.
Yeah, or at least she's ahead of the curve more than anybody, regardless of if it's perfect or whatever. She is the innovator of it, and she's going to figure it out. Her and Aiden, but. The other thing, like I said, like she's a liability. She gotta get off this planet. That's
12 o'clock. 12 o'clock high noon.
But why the fuck would Jacob do her a solid after that? She just said, "I'll sacrifice everything," and he was like, "All right, bet. Well, I got you this ship out there, so be gone at 12."
I mean, I guess that was just a courtesy of their relationship together. You know what I mean?
Terrible, unconvinced. That I hated it. Was not convinced that at all. About that wasn't at all. Like for real, like it just didn't make sense. I would have rather Aiden hack something and had something ready, but he was just like, so after you just like disrespected me and our daughter, by the way, here's your Uber outside. No, he didn't get her an Uber. He bought her a car and said go home.
Yeah, fully loaded.
It's like make sense. But anyway, she got her clearance back because we know she did the little iris, little contact scan on
She stole
her
it from
daughter. Yeah, it's terrible. She out here taking loans out in Miranda's name when Miranda was only 2 years old. Got a car loan and a mortgage on her and a cable bill. Let's not
credit
get
already messed up by 21.
But anyway, yeah, she's still on her same thing. I mean, she got her clearance back, and she's reaching out to Makee, and she's still off this like, you can't touch the artifact. It's dangerous. You and John, you can't do it. And I think Makee is like having conflict. That right there was the hardest thing for me to decipher. Was she believing Halsey? Was she just overwhelmed? I mean, it's like this, like she's like dealing with like high level anxiety where she's just like, anytime she starts hearing any bit of conflict, she just starts to go manic or whatnot. But like she's getting this whole different side of things from Halsey. She is definitely pro John. Like we are after she done laid up with him, she just left us from John.
She got that Master Chief.
See, that's one of them puns that somebody said. Nah, they said Master Cheeks. That's what he got. Yeah, but it's just it's just that we see the conflict starting to kind of brew up for Makee at this point, and we see Halsey trying to deploy her plan. She has a very granular plan. I don't know it all to an extent, but I know that she done took she did the Z protocol. She got two of the Spartans, which Vanek and Riz, to turn on first Kai and then Master Chief to get Cortana to disable him, because they already knew that 2v1 was not going down on Chief. Like that, it wasn't gonna be a walking apart. And then to get Makee, and then to get the artifact, and then meet him on the ship. I mean, at this point now, this is like getting on the sneakers app and getting one of every size. Like this plan was not happening.
She was at this point she was committing full-blown treason. Like, you know what I mean? Like
for sure.
She executed Order 66 on this one, you know. It's like we go all Spartans, you know what I mean? Like, so I thought that was interesting that, you know, of course she has a fail-safe, you know what I mean? They have a back door to, you know, manipulate these Spartans. And for the life of me, I can't tell you why that she didn't already know that Kyle was already compromised, like 4 episodes ago.
Yeah, unless her focus. I mean, I'm not giving it a pass unless her focus just wasn't on it. I mean, this is also the first time that she commanded the Spartans, and it wasn't Master Chief.
Right.
So it could be that. I tell you another one that didn't make sense. How did the soldier outside of Makee room didn't hear Halsey? He's like, who are you talking to? Bruh. So you hear her talking, but you don't hear the person talking to her? Unless these comms don't work the way I think they work. I mean, clearly they do, because when Cortana's up, then Aiden can hear her too. So I don't know.
Yeah. Was that the same tech though? I mean, I don't know.
Who knows? But yeah, it's not the same tech, but I mean the projection should still work in the same extent. I mean, she's using pretty much the standard projection tech that they use in the interrogation room and everything. So like, he should have heard her, but like, whatever. We'll let that slide for whatever reason.
He just sucks at his job, but yeah.
Yeah, and also gotta say, Aiden is such a flunky. He's like, congratulations. Like, I hate that dude. He is annoying as hell. But we gotta talk about the best part of this episode. Besides, I think the story was dope. But let's talk about the best part of this episode. When the Spartans suited up, so dope. So dope. And I also think that Kai coming back, I'm team Kai all the way. So seeing Kai coming back, prepping her step and whatnot, and even though she got deactivated, I was still like, okay, Kai's ready. Kai's about to throw down. But Kai got beat down. She got attached to this chair. Now, first of all, that technique that she used to get out was kind of dope. But she is like very, very lucky that brick didn't fall the other way.
Yeah.
Because that would have been
I wouldn't hurt her. But
oh, she would have been knocked out. Yeah, it definitely would have been. There would have been a double kill. She would have been hurt, like for real. But yeah. But it was a slick move nonetheless. But the fight choreography was so goddamn dope, bro.
Yeah, it was
so dope.
We know y'all gonna hate on this too, but it was tight.
Yeah. And I think, I want to reiterate, but what you said is that like Chief is the alpha. It's the Master Chief.
Right.
He can hold his hold down without armor and still give it to Vanek and Riz. And I thought that was all dope. 3 is a lot to make with this. So I want you to jump in there as fit. The first thing was when Cortana, who I told you Cortana was going to make a change in terms of siding with humanity. I knew that she was going to look at Halsey at some point and say, like, this does not align with what I believe. And I think we've seen sprinkles of that conflict earlier in the season. And I think once she started to announce that, like, it was about the future and I didn't care who was in the way, Cortana made her decision that she is Team Master Chief. Also think her watching the sex probably got her turned on. That's probably weird as fuck, but probably whatever.
No, I mean, she already knew. I mean, we kind of had a sprinkle of that because like that was still she's still made from, like I said, she's still human. Like, you know what I mean? When that clone was still a human version of Halsey, you know what I mean? She didn't remove anything from it. She wanted everything of herself to be inside of Cortana. You know what I mean? But remember, this was also the version of her before she kind of went through whatever change that she went through, as that the Halsey we know now. So they remember that her and the clone were having that conversation. She was like, "Yeah, why didn't we do anyway?" But then we kind of foresaw all that coming. We knew we were gonna get the finally get the Cortana that we used to seeing, hacking stuff and helping Chief instead of being a freaking spy.
Yeah.
So
but I also think, strictly show purposes, that Aiden was very adamant about them not having flaws in their systems. He mentioned that, like, I there's no way you hacking through my back door through my stuff. And then Cortana did it. And then he mentioned in this one that, like, he knew that was going to happen to Cortana. It starts to make me wonder, did he have something to do with it? Because, he's a perfectionist. He's like, listen, no one develops like I develop and whatnot. And
I think he in for the cause, man. I think he just got on that. I don't think he in on it.
Could be. I don't know. It's going to be interesting for what his commentary is going to be about it, because he, like you said, he said, I knew this was going to happen. And Halsey was like, I didn't see that coming for whatever reason. But
she was flabbergasted. She was
yeah, she definitely, yeah. But let's talk about Chief really quick, because when Chief was on his way to meet the Spartans, he didn't know he was meeting the Spartans, but he was about to meet the Spartans. When Cortana came in and told him to stop with the Z protocol had been activated, I think that Chief had sensed this happening before she said something. I don't think when she said stop, he stopped because of her. I think he stopped because he sensed. And I think it's important because we're seeing his enhanced senses, where that zooming around where he kind of could tell something was there was really dope. So whatever way it was, I just think that, like, this was a lot about establishing why he's the number one. He took 2 fully suited, uncompromised Spartan to the limit. They surely took they kicked his ass.
How his head was still on his shoulders, like they were showing direct contact, like his face was just getting dented in. Like, I'm like, yo, this dude is done.
Yeah, but
they didn't kill him, like, which was weird. I'm like, okay, was the order to kill him or just put him out? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so if they really wanted to kill him, they could have killed him.
I don't know about that. See, that's the thing. I don't know about that. No, because listen, the thing with the 2 Spartans is that they follow the mission for what it is. They're not compromised. If they were ordered to kill him, then they were going to kill him. They weren't ordered to kill him, but I don't think they could have killed him. But I also think, regardless of whatever way it went, I also think that it's important to note that, well, John was able to compromise Riz without her chip being removed.
Right.
Which tells you that there is flaw or just his uniqueness in order to connect with folks, because he told her it's me and she stopped. One thing we know is that the Spartans complete their mission no matter what, unless you're John or Kai, because you had your chip removed. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. But listen, they're all gonna be on the same page. We'll see going forward, hopefully. But there's that. Anyway, getting to the last part of the episode, this is when Miranda comes in and tell everybody, like, listen, her voice, that's her on it. And Matilda, now I'm forgetting her name. That was telling everybody that Margaret. Yeah, Margaret says, oh, you're gonna pay for that. And then the black soldier could not wait to tase Makee. What I don't understand is why in the world did they have her this close to the goddamn artifact when they knew?
I mean, you see her kind of like inching into the room a little bit.
Doesn't matter, bro. Does not matter. That does not matter. That is a confidential area, highly guarded, top level clearance.
Door wide open.
It's just they deserved everything that comes to them after that, because they just let her just come in like, I need to find you all because John told me to, and she sings her sang I don't want to say Swahili because it's definitely not Swahili. Shanghili, whatever, folks. She gets to talking, and it's just like, oh, whoops, and touches the joint, and that's that. And she gets the goodbye, John, and all of us cried a little bit because John has now become back on the market just that quick. That's all I gotta say. I want to know your comments. Any other comments you want to add for tonight's episode?
Man, like you said, that fight was great. Seeing him coordinate with Cortana and how to take out a Spartan. Like, hey, catch him on his left. He's got 2 more shots before the shield's down. Yada yada yada, stuff like that. That was really cool. I know that's probably gonna be the scene that people talk about. Any scene that John's in, pretty much, like where they, it's something popping. It's gonna be good. But yeah, that whole thing with Makee, man, like, look, man, that's it. We had fun. Sorry. I got it. It's on leave.
Yeah.
But she came to complete her mission. Now, how she gets out is a completely different story. How she's about to get out for Reach. If Reach doesn't get destroyed, because now they know where it is, she knows where it is. But I also think that not only was her laser finger thing, I think that was also probably a locator or some type of transponder or something like that for them to find them, because I was looking at like the tech that was on it. I was like, maybe that was just a way for them to find her. But yeah, like I said, it was pretty all good episode. A lot of reveal. I think we got like one more left.
I never know, but we'll be back. We'll be back for all of them. Who knows, man? We watch too much.
If it's 1 or 2, it's about to be geared up for action. We about to be fighting some Covenant now. That has been my biggest thing in the whole season, is like they really haven't really shown Covenant like a lot, but I feel like the budget is about to be here in this next one. We're gonna see some Covenant, so I'm excited.
All right, well, folks, then that will do it for episode 8 of Halo. Allegiance is tonight's episode title. Jump in the comments, let us know your thoughts about it. Please don't comment about Quan Ha. She was not in this episode. And we'll be back for next week's episode, whether it's the finale or not, because who knows? I think next week's the finale. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. We watch so many different shows. It's hard for us to keep up. Right? We're here each and every week for each and every episode of Halo. So thank you for tuning in, folks, and we'll see you back next week.